everything is in context. My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No,
do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education.
According to the book, Biden leaned over to Pete Buttigieg at the podium to his right. They barely knew each other, but Biden was looking for someone to share the moment with. Well, he said, that was some effing BS.
Kamala Harris will easily go down as the worst vice president in U.S. history. Her rise to the office has left a trail of mediocrity, confusion, and betrayal.
Well, the Klan was what we would call today a domestic terrorist group.
Why? Why would we call them domestic terrorist group?
Because they tried to use fear and force to change political environment.
And what was the motivation for the use of fear and force?
It was based on race and ethnicity.
Right. Are you aware of the perception of many about how the power and the discretion at ICE is being used to enforce the laws? We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
I've said I'm going to go to the border. And
When are you going to the border, Vice President?
The administration has asked. I'm not finished. I've said I'm going to the border. The catastrophes that are causing people to leave right now, the hurricanes, the pandemic, the drought, and extreme food insecurity. And then there are the long-standing issues, the root causes, the lack of climate adaptation and climate resilience, the lack of good governance.
That Kamala Harris maintains an enemies list, journalists who make her mad. Harris, Politico reported, quote, tracks political players and reporters whom she thinks don't fully understand or appreciate her life experience, like growing up in Canada.
But her facade is quickly disintegrating. As Politico reported, Vice President Kamala Harris's aides are in a panic, stating that she is effing up and perhaps shouldn't be the heir apparent for 2024's presidential race because she could not defeat whomever the Republican Party puts up.
And then they launched. Yeah, they did. Do I see people testifying? Can I get a witness?
Democrats start trying to play the race card. I want y'all to understand this. Kamala is not black. Her kids is not black. Her husband is not black. She does not come from black culture. So don't tell me I got to support Kamala Harris because she black. The race pander from the Democratic Party got to stop. It's really that simple. Thank you for listening.
As a black woman living in the United States, I am telling you, do not vote for Kamala Harris just because she is black and just because she is a woman. Especially if you are a Christian watching this, and if you have the voting ability, vote for the person that God wants in office. Now, I'm not going to say whether that is Kamala or Trump or whoever. But what I do know is that one side is very clearly pushing for godly principles to be established, and one side is pushing against those principles.
But you're also Indian American, and I'm just curious.
Indeed.
What's the best? How do you describe yourself?
Did you read my book? How do I describe myself? I describe myself as a proud American.
If Harris can barely handle the mainly ceremonial office of the vice presidency, imagine the hell on earth we can expect if Biden's passing gives her the dictatorial power that she craves.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe. Oh. Joe, I know you're still on the call.
Poor hubby.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome. It's Doug Diamond here. You made it to another Diamond Report Live, 10:10 p.m. on Sunday night, 7/28/24. Hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you enjoyed those two videos. Obviously, the first one about the Deagle report mentions such things as, let's say the let's just say that, and I'm not going to be able to leave that in on YouTube later when this video gets posted more permanently there. However, it was a very interesting report, I thought, and some interesting points were made there. And you'll note the 2025 date, which is something that I've been talking about for a long time. And I do think that the report, as Greg Reese had put out, is very accurate as far as what the Deagle report says and where it all comes from. So, yeah, the 2025 projections for population decline, the U.S. in particular, but the Western countries in general, is something that obviously I think if there's a huge war as well, which I'm not even sure that he mentioned that in the video, but if there's a war and that kills a lot of people, obviously there's part of your solution there to those numbers, unfortunately. So, yeah, 2025 is when I personally think that will be the final 3.5 years, the beginning of the final 3.5 years starting next year, early next year. So this timeline that we're looking at here, many of you guys are familiar with it. It is from the Take It to the Lord in Prayer series that I created on my End Times Dates channel. End Times Dates, Take It to the Lord in Prayer on YouTube, and it's also on my other platforms as well. Would highly recommend that you guys go back and watch some of those videos. The first one was made in March of 2019, as was this timeline that we're looking at. So very important and really good information, I think, and it's just now sort of becoming very important to kind of get a grasp on, in my opinion. So let's see here. And then I saw some folks posting in chat about the cackling with Kamala Harris. And I guess people are taking to calling her Brenda, as in, let's go Brenda, instead of let's go Brandon. I thought that was pretty funny. We'll take a look at that a little bit later as well. And I've got some more Kamala information there that I think that you guys will really like in a little bit. So we'll get to that as soon as possible. So here we are tonight, again, Sunday night, the Diamond Report Live. Glad you guys are here. And welcome all. So let's take a look at the news. I found this good meme. I like starting with something semi-funny, at least. Government is necessary because people left unchecked will do evil. Well, the government is composed of people left unchecked. All right, so let's see. Hal Turner Radio Show is reporting some pretty big news here in Israel and Lebanon. So, according to Hal's website, halturnerradioshow.com, last update was 10:20 p.m. Eastern tonight. Israeli airstrikes paused. Betrayal by the United States. Now, I'm just going to kind of tick through this a little bit, and you guys can go check out this website if you are interested in more information, and subscribers would get these green areas would be unlocked so you could see what Hal's reporting. And I am a subscriber, but obviously I can't show you that. That's his proprietary information. However, what we are looking at is the completely public posting that he's made on his website. And this starts at 10:30 this morning. Israeli War Cabinet said to convene as of this morning, U.S. time, to approve attacks against Lebanon. And let's see. Let me just kind of go through a few of these bullet points. Now, you guys undoubtedly have heard about the soccer field and in the Golan Heights and all of the kids that were killed at the soccer field. 12 children is what this says here. I think it may even be more than that. I'm not real sure on the numbers. Video has emerged from the Golan Heights showing definitively it was an Israeli Iron Dome missile that malfunctioned and hit the soccer stadium, killing 12 children and wounding many others. Is that who got blamed for it? I think it was the Hezbollah. And a lot of people that I know are also pointing the finger at Israel. Israel did this to themselves. It's looking like. Now, obviously, we don't have all the details, but that is also what Hal is reporting here as well. Okay, so let's see. We've got some embedded tweets and things about the kids. So sad that this happened. However, Hal is insinuating here that it may have been an accident. I don't know. I'm not so sure that it was an accident. Let's see what he says here. As of this afternoon, about 2 o'clock, says there's no word out of Israel about the war cabinet, no word on their, no word as to whether or not their meeting has concluded or is still in progress, no word on any decision having been made about the invasion of Lebanon. And then by 4 o'clock, it says Israeli reserve soldiers received secret call-ups to prepare for possible escalation soon. Medical Volunteers for Israel have just put out an urgent call for general surgeons, thoracic surgeons, trauma surgeons, and anesthesiologists to help staff Israel's northern hospitals. Unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, are now flying over southern Lebanon all the way up to Beirut and over Beirut. The Israeli War Cabinet meeting has concluded. Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, says that they will invade Israel. Israel FM responds. Erdogan is following in the footsteps of Hussein and is threatening to attack Israel. Just let him remember what happened there and how it ended, quote unquote. Of course, everyone's threatening each other over there. U.S. State Department Pentagon sent urgent message to government of Lebanon. A large-scale attack is coming, because that's what you do. You warn the people you're getting ready to attack. Update 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Regional Council in the Upper Galilee, Northern Israel. We ask citizens to stay near the fortified places and do not wander or gather. Upper Galilee, Western Galilee, municipal councils, residents must locate near shelters immediately. Stay near them. Bulletin, Lebanon makes it official. Deputy Speaker of Lebanese Parliament said to Al Jazeera, if civilian casualties happen or Beirut and its suburbs are targeted, we will not consider this a measured and limited response. Any strike on Beirut and the suburbs will be met with a strike on Gush Dan and Jerusalem. We're going to consider the Americans equally complicit. Covert intel being left open to the public because everyone needs to know, according to Hal. Israeli government intends to launch a series of significant and broad strikes against Hezbollah targets throughout Lebanon, including the suburbs of Beirut, as well as the sites of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in both northern Lebanon and Syria. Members of the War Cabinet have authorized Netanyahu and Defense Minister Gallant to decide on the manner of the response against Hezbollah and the timing. Never mind the fact that they're just blaming Hezbollah for this, quote, missile attack or rocket attack on the soccer field. And remember what I said earlier. There were reports that it was simply a malfunctioned missile from the Iron Dome itself in Israel. So self-inflicted wound. All right, but they're going to go ahead and use it as an excuse to attack Hezbollah. At least it's what it's looking like at the moment. And isn't that convenient? So is it really an accident is the next question, obviously. Hezbollah threatens Israel, stating if you hit Beirut or the southern suburbs, we will target Tel Aviv and other areas. Electronic warfare has commenced. Parts of Lebanon are experiencing failures in GPS reception and internet networks, along with disruptions in phone calls. Hezbollah has reportedly told fake President Joe Biden's advisor on Lebanon and Israel, as well as senior officers with the UN, that any kind of major Israeli retaliatory operation will result in a massive response from Hezbollah and other factions, even if it leads to full-scale war. Strikes now by the Israeli Air Force and artillery against the town of, however you say this, Tyre Harfa, and several other communities in southwestern Lebanon on the border with Israel. And then here's the map showing where that is. And then, let's see here. Update, 5:30 p.m. Reports of Israeli strikes on southern Lebanon and cancellations of flights at Beirut airport. We believe the Israeli army's targeting of Beirut as a potential red line for Hezbollah and possibly for Iran too. Lebanon has just closed their airspace. Syrian defense has been placed on alert, so you can see it just keeps ramping up hour by hour by hour here. Let's see. Israeli fighter jets have taken off, and that's as of 7:20. And then signs Israel is prepping for action in Lebanon will trigger larger Hezbollah response. That was 7:30 tonight, so just a little while ago. Israeli warplanes breached the sound barrier over the sea off the Lebanese coast. Israeli Air Force fighter planes have now entered Beirut airspace. So Hal's doing a really good job here of reporting everything that's transpiring. Earlier reporting revealed that Erdogan actually said Turkey can enter the Israel conflict to protect the Palestinians the same way we entered Libya and Karkaba. So yes, this is really ramping up very quickly. And then as of about an hour ago, bulletin just confirmed by Hal's friends that it was Hochstein, who is a Biden-Harris flunky. Israeli reports say Lebanese officials now confirm the U.S. envoy and NSC official Hochstein passed information to Hezbollah of Israeli strikes in advance of those strikes to Lebanon. Israel is calling this a blood betrayal by the U.S. Israel has now had to change their strike package, which is why there's been no main attack yet. So Hal's reporting here that the people that have put in a coup, meaning the Biden administration, who have now launched another coup against themselves by removing the person that they put in as a puppet, and they're going to replace him with another puppet, apparently. They're double-crossing the Israelis, according to what Hal is saying here. Now, is it true? I don't know. Hal is reporting this, though. So that could be why everything has been delayed, at least the ongoing attack, while they regroup and fortify whatever plans they have on attacking Lebanon. If indeed the Biden administration has double-crossed Israel. So, lots of backstabbing going on. Yes, Joyce says, oh my gosh. Well, I don't know. So I would say, if nothing else, take this to the Lord in prayer. I have no idea if any of this is true. This is just what Hal's reporting. I think he does a really good job. I do think that he has insider connections and does seem to get it right most of the time. So we will see how this all transpires. But whatever the case may be, it looks like it's going to be in the next few hours to day or so. Unless whatever this double cross has really changed the timeline somehow, which I don't know. So we'll just have to keep a sharp eye on it, and obviously many people are. So we will see what happens. And I mentioned the Anthony Patch show that I'm helping to produce almost daily at this point. And I would just point you guys to this as well. I think Anthony's doing a good job. We did a breaking news on this whole thing last night. We posted this breaking news report, just a short report from Anthony. Israel retaliates against Hezbollah, which again was based on most likely the false information that Hezbollah launched the missile against the kids on the soccer field, which I really don't buy. I hope you guys don't buy it either. I think it was either an accident or a well-planned, well-timed event so that they can point the finger at Hezbollah and then launch their attack against, ultimately, Iran. That's what it's looking like. But Anthony's doing a good job on his new program on his YouTube channel that's free and open to the public. Pulse is the name of the show. So you can find him on Anthony Patch Official over on YouTube. And then he's on, various other platforms as well, Rumble and Brighteon and BitChute and so forth. So we did post that show. And all of these Pulse shows are going up publicly on all of those other platforms. So feel free to take a look at that. Maybe subscribe to my good friend. And you guys can get some good information for free from him as well. So the other thing I wanted to mention from Hal's site, Paris hit with massive power failure after Olympic opening ceremony freak show featuring the drag queen Last Supper mocking Jesus. So there's dark Paris after that happened. Looks like the Almighty didn't take kindly to Paris opening its Olympics with a depiction of Christ's Last Supper full of drag queens and even one guy with his you-know-what hanging out. So, and then this is the guy who, I guess, planned the ceremony, this guy. So, lots of info here if you're interested in looking at this. But you all know that the times we are living in at the moment could be easily quantified as the end times. And I think that this kind of stuff is certainly further proof that indeed it is. All right, let's keep moving. We've got, we'll talk more about the opening ceremony and Olympic stuff here in just a little while as well. I think I've got an article or two on that pulled up. You know, again, a sign of the times. Yes, God is in charge, for sure. All right. House votes to condemn border czar, quote-unquote, Kamala, which, of course, they've been trying to cover the tracks and gaslight the entire world, saying that she was never the border czar, when, of course, she was, and they were calling her that for a long time. But they don't want the blame for all of the stuff going wrong at the border. They don't want her to be blamed for it, even though she was officially in charge. So, but they're gaslighting us all and telling us that never happened. Never mind it, that we can play videos of them calling her that, and indeed may very well do that. So, anyway, let's take a look at this article. It says U.S. House of Representatives passed a resolution Thursday condemning VP Harris for failing in her duty as border czar to secure the southern border. 6 Democrats sided with Republicans. How about that? For a 220 to 196 vote, despite the mainstream media's attempt to erase her record, Kamala is Biden's border czar, and the unprecedented invasion at our borders is hers to own. I would say it also is Joseph Biden's to own, and all of the people around him, the entire fake administration. So anyway, yeah, we'll see where that goes. Most likely nowhere. They tend to vote on stuff and then just forget about it and drop it. So we'll see. Peter Thiel is the man behind Trump's VP pick, and it's worse than you think. Talking, of course, about J.D. Vance. Mentioned him last week. It's no secret that I don't care for the guy. The more I'm learning about him, the less I care about him. And, in fact, the more I don't like him. So I'm not sure what you guys think about it. You're welcome to like him. I'm just saying that, personally, I get a bad feeling about the guy. Now, this article says author Whitney Webb provides a detailed explanation of controversies surrounding J.D. Vance, a never-Trumper, and I played the video last week of him talking about Trump and how terrible he was, you know, at different times, and then praising him out of the other side of his mouth. J.D. Vance, a never-Trumper who is now Trump's running mate for the office of vice president. Vance's close connection to billionaire Peter Thiel, who is poised to have unprecedented influence in a new Trump administration, oh joy, right, should deeply unsettle every American who cares about freedom, privacy, and reining in the surveillance state. Thiel has extensive ties to the CIA. Vance launched his own venture capital firm in 2020, which was heavily funded by Thiel, as well as former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, a major Democrat donor. Thiel gave $15 million to Vance's successful Senate bid in the 2022 election cycle in what was then the largest donation ever given to one Senate candidate. Wow. David Sachs, Elon Musk, and Tucker Carlson were said to have run a secret lobbying campaign to get Vance on the Trump ticket. Thiel has been a major donor to Trump's 2016 presidential campaign and served on Trump's transition team. Trump failed to, quote, drain the swamp. Thiel funded the company Anduril and is now building a virtual border wall for the federal government, and Trump, who has abandoned building the physical barrier on the U.S.-Mexico border. Thiel-funded defense companies are remaking the face of warfare and slowly but surely are replacing human decision-making with AI. Thiel created Palantir, a private company that's the engine on which the surveillance state runs. And Palantir is something, I mentioned Anthony Patch earlier. He talks about Palantir pretty often. So, yes, J.D. Vance, once again, I think the cloak is coming off of him little by little. And along those lines, I posted this to my Facebook page, just a quick little picture that I put together the other day. And I mentioned last week that Pence and Vance seem an awful lot alike. They sound an awful lot alike. Pence and Vance. And in fact, if you remove the VA from Vance, the first 2 letters, and the first 2 letters from Pence, you get VA and PE, or vape, which means you must be smoking something. So that's what I think on Pence and Vance. They may be 2 birds of a feather. They may be one and the same. I don't know. We shall see. Act Blue accused of massive money laundering operation. Trump files FEC complaint. So this is actually pretty interesting, and this video that's embedded here from OMG, which is James O'Keefe's media group, O'Keefe Media Group, is really interesting, and they go on and on about how money laundering is going on through the Act Blue operation. It says Democrat donation platform Act Blue has been accused of engaging in a massive money laundering operation by which contributions from large donors are being funneled through hundreds of thousands of smaller donations made the name of people who have no clue that they've donated. Journalist James O'Keefe approached alleged donors with hundreds of thousands of contributions listed in their name who knew nothing about them. In related news, the Trump campaign filed a complaint with the Federal Election Commission on Tuesday, accusing Biden and Harris of violating campaign finance laws with the transfer of $91 million in fundraising cash to her new campaign. So they're claiming it. We all knew that they would do that. But what's interesting here, though, is, at least I think, is, O'Keefe is going through and interviewing some of these people, have no idea their names and addresses are being used in this money laundering situation. And what I'm finding is, based on his few interviews in this video, is that the people have apparently donated to Act Blue. So Act Blue is then taking these people, these regular donator type people's information, and then funneling all of this crazy amounts of cash through their names and addresses. Because they figure that these people are, in fact, Democrat donors and probably won't care because they're just giving more money in their name. Never mind the fact they happen to be breaking many laws. Guess that doesn't matter. So, anyway, kind of interesting. And then along those lines, I found this tweet earlier, and I think this is a good explanation of what's going on here. You guys may have heard of DC Drano, which is a really good Twitter account, one that I follow. So this is an explanation of how this breaks down. It says, here's the Democrat election scam broken down. So listen closely here. They create the illusion of support for a candidate, think Kamala Harris. They create the illusion of support for a candidate by pumping them up in the media apparatus that they fully control. They use billionaires to launder money to the candidate through straw donors on Act Blue. $3,300 maximum per person, ? No problem. Just funnel a billionaire's money through hundreds of thousands of names. Wow, look how popular they are. Polling companies work for them, so that's no issue either. Just show the transformational candidate with strong numbers based on imaginary data. Now the public believes that they have a chance. Again, think Kamala here. But others as well. You could say Biden just as well. It says, then they register 8+ million illegals to vote. I would say probably far more than that. They don't need them to actually cast a ballot and risk getting caught. They just need that name on a voter roll so they can pump out a fake ballot and throw it in a drop box undetected in a few key swing states. The deep state FBI and DOJ won't even open an investigation, so no issue there. And if any judges start getting a little too close to allowing an actual trial showing evidence, that judge gets a very threatening phone call. Then boom, every single case is dismissed on standing. What great luck for them. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Then when they steal it, they ban anyone on social media calling out their scam, put up barbed wire around the Capitol, use thousands of troops to keep the public away, and start new wars across the globe for years on end. We no longer live in a free country. We live under a communist regime masquerading as a constitutional republic. And then this is the last sentence here in this, again, DC Drano post. Trump is their greatest threat, and they just tried to put a bullet in his head. So I thought that was a pretty good synopsis of how they do this scam. And note, they don't need the illegals to go and actually vote. They just need their ballots with their names and addresses and dropped in a ballot box. So that's part of the scam, obviously. So kind of a key little point there, I think. All right. Suspect 22, who allegedly mowed down a Trump supporter, 80, with his ATV, kills himself. You guys may have heard this first part of this story. I didn't really know where it was, but Hancock, Michigan, police reported that an unidentified man, 22, used an all-terrain vehicle, ATV, to run over and critically injure an 80-year-old man who was putting a Trump sign up in his yard, in what police have described as a politically motivated attack. Before targeting the elderly man, police say the suspect vandalized 2 parked vehicles, smashing the windows of one that displayed a Trump sticker and damaging the tires of another that had a sticker supporting the police. The young suspect is reported to be thin with possible dreadlocks or long hair. The 80-year-old man was taken to a hospital with critical injuries that include a brain bleed. The suspect called the police to confess a crime and was found dead by his own hand, according to police. Critics blame violent rhetoric from the left for violence against Trump and his supporters. So, sounds like a very fatal case of Trump derangement syndrome, fatal in that he took his own life. So, wow, what a story. But yeah, the man that he ran over, who was just putting a sign up in his yard, in his own yard, apparently has not died, so that's good, but he does have brain bleed. So more info on that if I see it, if I get that. Very strange, but yes, what a world that we live in, huh? Was global Microsoft IT outage caused during CrowdStrike update a trial run for the Great Reset? That's what I've heard a lot of people talking about. And we touched on that last week. A glitch with Microsoft Windows is said to have caused computer systems to crash around the world, including the US, Australia, New Zealand, India, Japan, and the UK, and shut down air travel systems, streetlights, credit card payment systems, banks, broadcasts, 911 calls, supermarket registers, and more. Experts attributed the failures to a recent update of CrowdStrike antivirus cybersecurity software that caused computers to crash. CrowdStrike was founded in 2011 by 2 former McAfee executives. The company sells cybersecurity software to Fortune 500 companies and federal and state agencies. Its first product, called Falcon, an update for which was cited for Friday's outage, detects security breaches in Windows or Mac computers. Max Blumenthal called CrowdStrike the shady firm hired by the DNC to find Russia responsible for hacking its server. In 2016, CrowdStrike was hired by the DNC, Democrat National Committee, to investigate the hacking of DNC computers a year earlier. Dan Dix of Press for Truth, which I've shown some of his videos on this broadcast before, said that BlackRock and Vanguard are the top owners of CrowdStrike. The World Economic Forum predicted in 2023 that geopolitical instability would lead to a catastrophic cyber event within 2 years, and they provided a solution and called for a global response and cooperation. Isn't that nice? He said that this outage was a trial run in preparation to take out global supply chains, or it was used in implanted code to be utilized for a large cyber attack to kick off the Great Reset, or maybe all the above. He warned against central bank digital currency and recommended tangible assets and exiting the globalist system. Yeah. So anyway, that was the article I had on CrowdStrike. Thought that was kind of interesting. Some of the usual suspects involved: the DNC and BlackRock and Vanguard. Yes, very shady. Microsoft. You name it. Anyway, that was on needtoknow.news. That was the last article on there. And then I found this tweet earlier. Dan Bongino, I'm sure you guys know who he is. Important Secret Service scandal is about to get a lot worse. This was a tweet from him yesterday. Apparently, Secret Service counter sniper assets were routinely denied to the Secret Service Donald Trump detail if the locations weren't within driving distance of Washington, D.C. This is a shocking piece of information that Acting Director Ron Rowe should immediately have to answer for. A trusted whistleblower sent this shocking piece of information during Dan's show on Rumble yesterday. You can watch the show here if you want. There's a link. So, yeah. So, apparently, counter-sniper assets were only allowed to be present with Donald Trump's security detail if the locations were within driving distance. Isn't that nice? So, thought that was kind of interesting. Again, that's on Dan Bongino's Twitter account. D Bongino is what he is on X, Twitter X. And then technocracy.news. Mrs. Are technocrats also running the Biden presidency? The empty skirt Democrat candidate has no base of her own. Mrs. notes that her base is the technocracy itself. Further, America has degenerated into the ideal technocracy from the technocrats' viewpoint, because all substantive decisions are made by unelected technocrats. Pretty handy. And I would say AI involved as well, it seems like. So that is one of the headlines on technocracy.news. Draft of AI order waiting for Trump presidency to launch Manhattan projects for Defense Department. As big tech titans sign onto the Trump train, they are already clamoring for reduced regulation for AI. What about all those other insiders who want more regulation and safety standards? If Trump wins, he will surround himself with technocrats, including those he will appoint to his cabinet. Then executive orders like this will take Congress out of the loop altogether. So again, it slides back into another style of dictatorship or oligarchy. MAGA 2.0, the conservative case for a transhuman future. Is there a MAGA 2.0 that's different than MAGA 1.0? Joe Allen talks about how the technological gray tribe stands apart from the progressive blue tribe and the tradition-oriented red tribe, and suggests MAGA 2.0 promises to hurdle you blindly into the future. If you don't see this not-so-subtle distinction, you will find yourself living in a transhuman and technocratic future. I think there's pretty much no chance that that won't happen. Anyway, again, that's the headlines currently over on technocracy.news. And then Reclaim the Net, Trump's committing to a CBDC ban. Trump's CBDC opposition strikes a chord with cryptocurrency advocates wary of government overreach. Yeah, he was apparently just in Nashville, which is where I am. I didn't realize he was going to be here, but for the Bitcoin conference that they had just in the last week or so. Rumble expands horizons with Xbox integration. For all of you Xboxers out there, you game players, you know who you are. Kennedy lawsuit against Biden administration's censorship demands heads to lower court. Legal showdown over Biden administration's social media policies heats up with key court decisions pending. I've also heard that Kennedy is thinking about dropping out of the race and endorsing Trump, by the way. So we will see if that actually transpires. Copyright strikes silence Paris Olympics critics. Criticism of the event is met with fierce copyright enforcement, raising questions about fair use and free expression. So yes, if you are criticizing the Paris Olympics opening ceremony, you're going to get a copyright strike. Probably just from showing the picture, I'm guessing. I don't know. Liberty Beacon. Let's see. They've got some pretty good articles on their site. I don't have anything pulled up in particular on here. There's one here. Will RFK Jr. be Trump's czar? I think he was supposed to be last time, and Trump opted not to do that. So I would say a big no on that, but just a guess. And that, of course, is if there's even an election, and that, of course, is if Trump even wins the fake election that they're maybe going to have or maybe won't. We'll see. All right, and then let's see some of the headlines on RT.com. Harris has low IQ, according to Trump. I don't think Harris would even know how to spell IQ. Maybe I'm wrong. Israel bombs targets in Lebanon. Mentioned this earlier. Airstrikes came after Israel accused Hezbollah of killing 12 civilians in the Golan Heights. Again, that's probably old news at this point. This is from last night, but it's looking like Israel did it to itself, either on purpose or as an accident. But the timing of which is very suspicious. Transgender Olympics Last Supper parody sparks outrage. Many netizens have called the Paris Games opening ceremony the worst ever. Yep, I could see that. I didn't even watch it, and I could still definitely imagine that. This was extremely disrespectful to Christians, Elon Musk says. The guy whose avatar on Twitter X is literally that of like the Antichrist type of thing. He's got an upside down cross on it. I don't know if you've seen it. So maybe falling on deaf ears a little bit, Mr. Musk. Maybe it's just me. So yeah, that's on RT, and then let's see, People's Voice. Oh yeah, let's look at this first headline. New video of second muzzle flash reveals FBI covering up multiple shooters in Trump assassination attempt. It says a newly surfaced video from the Trump assassination attempt in Butler Park, PA, suggests there was another shooter in the window of the American Glass Research Building. Unseen footage reveals the telltale sight of a muzzle flash at the same time alleged shooter Crooks was said to be firing at Trump from the roof. And the more I've looked at this, little by little, from the senator that put out the body cam footage, I don't know if you guys have seen that, where they're on the roof talking things through. The more it looks highly suspicious that this guy was literally just a patsy and may not have ever even fired a shot. That's what it's looking like, in my opinion. Do you see what Gerald sees? Pretty sure I do. Is that what I think it is? Uh-oh. So you can see the muzzle flash from the window of the building there. And then there's a video clip of it here. Difficult to see it at normal speed. The video is slowed down to 0.25 speed. You can see the muzzle flash. So, yes. Apparently somebody in that window. Now, the other headlines on People's Voice. That was the top one there. Putin warns he will place medium-range strike weapons in Cuba if Germany hosts U.S. missiles. Yes, huge power outage in Paris, Verbo Print says. Yeah, I mentioned that at the beginning of the show. That's correct. Harris suggests young people shouldn't have children because of climate change. Of course. Radical cleric raises millions to create Islamic homeland on Scottish island. A win by incompetent Harris will lead to World War III, Trump says. CrowdStrike. CSO sold 4,000 shares of the company just before the tech outage. Yeah. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Sounds a little bit like what happened with the attempted assassination as well. Trump vows to ban the WEF rollout of CBDCs. Quote, they are a threat to our liberty, end quote. Which, in Trump's case, probably means he will vote for it and sign it into law as soon as possible. Just a guess. Hirsch says Obama used the 25th Amendment to force Biden out. So Seymour Hirsch is the guy that reported on what actually transpired with the Nord Stream being blown up. So, yeah, I think he knows what he's talking about. Paris Olympics claim no intent, to mock the Last Supper in gaslighting apology. So this is on Information Liberation. Mock Jesus at Paris Olympics, played by self-described fat Jewish queer lesbian. Isn't that lovely? Mocking the Last Supper. Kamala pledges unwavering commitment to Israel, offers Palestinians her concern. Again, mentioning the first story tonight, it's looking like, in fact, at least very possibly, the Biden administration just stabbed Netanyahu and Israel in the back. So, kind of interesting, huh? Biden boasts the U.S. is not at war anywhere in the world, just after bombing Yemen. Well, I think what he's saying is they haven't declared war. That doesn't mean they're not actually conducting operations. So that's the way he gets out of that, I suppose. Of course, he may actually forget that we're even a country at this point, let alone at war. Tucker Carlson praises the Noahide laws. He says they're great. So just remember that. They're great. No hide laws. Trump says he hopes the U.S. wipes Iran off the face of the earth if they assassinate him. This is one of those things, I saw the headline, I'm like, wow, Trump actually believes that Iran is out there trying to kill him. No, it's the deep state. And yes, if the deep state's successful, they're going to blame Iran, guaranteed, because they won a war with Iran, which is ultimately a war with Russia. Yeah, that's funny. A queer lesbian, doesn't that make you straight? Yeah, it's kind of a double meaning, so I guess it would. Although, I think in her case, you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I get it. All right, let's see here. Daily Crow. Ezekiel 38 incoming. Turkey's Erdogan threatens to invade Israel. So maybe so. We will have to see how this plays out. Israel nearing an all-out war, foreign minister says. Hezbollah crossed all the lines with a rocket attack that killed 10 people, which is at least 12. And, of course, it's Israel that did it, but that's just a little detail we're not supposed to know about. UK will no longer oppose ICC arrest warrant requests for Netanyahu. That's on National Review, so I'm not sure I would believe that. But anyway, who knows? This is a screenshot of a tweet from Donnie Darkened. Iran just made a statement defending Jesus Christ against the Olympics. I hope people see what's happening here. Everything is building towards a multi-faith alliance against the Jewish Talmudic New World Order in its headquarters in Jerusalem, the harlot, the same enemy that the beast rises up to destroy in Revelation 17:16. The beast kingdom will be ushered in under the guise of righteousness and interfaith unity against evil. So many are already on the path of being deceived by this. And then, okay, I was mentioning Musk earlier, his defending Christianity. Here he is with his Antichrist garb on here. Unless there's more bravery to stand up for what is fair and right, Christianity will perish. And this is him wearing a who knows what demon with an upside down cross on it. Halloween costume. So there's your defender of Christianity. Let's see. Subliminal messaging, Paris Olympics opening ceremony animation shows a balloon and satellite flying over a damaged Statue of Liberty covered in wounds, with one wound appearing on the statue's cheek. Wonder what happened to the Statue of Liberty. And you can see her, I guess her halo, her crown is missing some of its spikes. They're bent. They're either bent or broken off. So she is certainly under duress, huh? Apocalypse horse symbolism. Blood to horse's bridle through London 3 months, 3 days, inclusive earlier. Social media users point to Revelation 6:8 after Paris Olympics opens up with a rider on a pale horse. Right here. Baal worship or Baal worship, 2024 Olympics and the 2022 Commonwealth. Remember that? Who's in charge of the Commonwealth? King Charles. If you didn't know that. He was there at the Commonwealth Games. The soon-to-be Antichrist himself, in my opinion. Opening ceremony of 2024 Olympics showcases reenactment of the Last Supper by drag queens. All unbelievers should be asking, why is it always and only Jesus who that they mock? Why is it always and only Jesus who they mock? Because they are deathly afraid of him. They're afraid of judgment. The organizer of the 2024 Paris Olympics, with all of its satanic, Masonic, and LGBTQ imagery, is Jewish and also gay. New 9/11 World Trade Center collapse footage emerges after 23 years. Yeah, the guy just found it. It was in his closet. So we're going to look at that in a minute. All right. Anyways, so that is some of the headlines on dailycrow.com. And let's see. This is kind of interesting if you guys haven't heard this. Breaking: Trump says, I'm not Christian. Well, It depends on who you ask, because if you ask 10 different people, you'll get 10 different answers. Some people say he says he is a Christian. Other people say that he says he's not. So I'll let you guys hear it for yourself. If you haven't heard this before, you definitely need to. Here it is.
It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian.
I'm not Christian? What does that mean? I'm not Christian? Does he say I'm not Christian or I'm a Christian? So I would say he purposely said it that way so that it could be interpreted both ways, perhaps. Because he doesn't want to offend his overlords, the ones over in Israel. I mean, he has definitely, I think, beyond any shadow of a doubt, we talked about it last week, converted to Judaism, at least to some degree. I don't think he's necessarily practicing. I'm just saying that I've never heard him mention Jesus Christ one time, even after almost getting his head blown off. I mean, it seems to me like if you were going to make a turnaround and start talking about Jesus all the time to everyone, that would probably be the best time to do it. Is he doing that? Doesn't seem like it. So anyway, this is a post here from Syrian Girl on Twitter. Breaking: Trump says, I'm not Christian. He will be the first openly non-Christian president. Don't cope. He shook his head when he said not, and he said you, Christians, not us. I think his daughter and Jared Kushner made him convert. And that's what we talked about last week, that he has since converted to Judaism. But it depends on who you ask. There are people here in the comments saying, no, it sounds like he says, I'm a Christian. So I don't know. Who knows? But one thing is for certain, he definitely wants the votes of the Christian. That's primarily what it seems like he cares about. So interpret it how you like. All right. So red heifer update. I know you wanted one. No, I'm just joking, but I personally did. I was wondering what in the world's going on with the red heifers. We haven't talked about them for a while, and I'm thinking that you guys probably haven't heard much about it. I haven't heard much about it. Last thing I mentioned was quite a few weeks ago at this point, when it was looking like everybody thought, oh, they're going to sacrifice this red heifer, and then, you know, Iran and the Hezbollah and all these other groups would just explode with utter craziness and go after Israel and stuff. Well, it just so happens that this update, I think, shines some pretty good light on the way things are probably going to play out. And they do mention a timeline that I have mentioned, and that is October. So this video clip is, well, the whole thing is 17 minutes. We're going to play it at 1.25x, just a little faster than normal, because I think it's very important to get this on the record and make sure that you guys know what appears to be happening with the red heifers. And let's just say that they might be planning to do their sacrifice in secret. And there's some alluding to that in this video. So here we go. This is Red Heifer Ashes. This is on the Nelson Walters YouTube channel. And again, we'll link to this like we do everything else that I post in the Substack. So make sure you're on the Substack list if you're not already. diamonddisc.substack.com. Link in the upper right up there. So Red Heifer Ashes, hidden by Jeremiah the prophet, located. Then it says Third Temple. All right, so here we go.
And this link that goes all the way back to Moses, Aaron, and even the prophets Jeremiah, Haggai, and Zechariah is just incredible because it's linked to today, modern Israel and the red heifers. It's one story. Now, if you're new to this red heifer thing, none of it seems to make sense. So let me explain why it's biblically important. The 1-minute version. In Numbers 19, God commanded Moses to sacrifice a perfect, kosher red cow or red heifer as a means to cleanse the Israelites from ritual impurity. Once pure, they could approach a holy God. This ceremony was symbolic of the once and for all sacrifice Jesus would make on the cross. So Christians today are pure. And through Jesus and what he did for us, we can approach the throne of God without fear. However, Jews who don't have faith in Jesus are not pure. Without the purity that comes from the ashes of a red heifer, they don't feel pure enough to even walk on the area of the Temple Mount where the temple was and will be in the future. And some believe they aren't pure enough to bring the Tamid sacrifices on the Temple Mount. You know, the ones that are going to start again in the near future? The very ones that the Antichrist takes away, as we learn in Daniel 9:27. So the ashes of a burnt red heifer mixed with pure spring water sprinkled on the priests and worshipers are necessary to begin those sacrifices, build a third temple, and essentially they're necessary for the end times. So how did these ancient ashes fit into all this? Well, after a sacrifice was done and the people were cleansed, they didn't just throw the ashes away, they would keep using them year after year. But as the ashes got lower, they realized another sacrifice would be needed. And when that one was completed, they mixed some of the old with the new. And in that way, some of those ashes would go all the way back to Moses and Aaron. This made them incredibly valuable ashes. But about 2,500 years ago, those valuable ashes were threatened. The prophet Jeremiah and his scribe Baruch stood on the walls of the city of Jerusalem. They watched the Babylonian armies encircle the city. They knew the city would be taken soon. Jeremiah received the word from God to take the holy items from the temple of the Lord and hide them from the Babylonians. These things included the breastplate or ephod of the high priest, the temple incense, and the ashes of the red heifer. But he hid them out and away from the city. He buried them. And he recorded the location of the ashes on a scroll made of copper. And he had 5 men, including the other prophets, Haggai and Zechariah, you know them from the Bible too. He had them record these locations on 5 pieces of that scroll. And that scroll was found in 1950 with the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now you're ready for the rest of the story.
It's a big mystery. It's a verbal treasure map that was found in 1950 with the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yes.
I think on the last day of the dig of the French excavation. And it's now in Jordan, in Amman.
Correct. Yeah.
And I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
But it's spectacular what could be buried.
Yes.
Now, Larry Borntrager is the man who's caring for the heifers. Jim Scudder is the gentleman doing the interview. He's from In Grace Now Ministries. The late Vendell Jones is the archaeologist who began the dig for the ashes of the heifer. And Stephen Welp from this ministry, friend of Vendell Jones, let me know about this interview.
I never know quite where to start. The easiest thing is, I was here on a planned dig back in November. I dig with used to be Vendell Jones, looking for the ashes of the red heifer, the ancient ones. And in 92, we found 1,500 pounds of spices in a cave that the Copper Scrolls describes.
Wow.
Then it says beneath the spices, there's a purification. And I have a sample of the spices if you're interested in seeing that. So.
Oh, yeah. Are they all still pure enough? Or
no,
okay.
There's 2 definitely not.
Okay. Oh, here they come. Hi. How are you? That's the one with the bump?
This is 2 dots.
2 dots. Oh, yeah, I see the 2 dots.
Yeah.
Wow.
I do know that Goldie here. See those little warts on the side?
Hey, Goldie. Yeah, okay.
She's not qualified.
Okay. So there's a few things already that's disqualified a couple, but
yeah,
it'll be some time.
So actually what they plan to do now is to breed these artificial insemination.
Okay.
So that in the future, there might be more.
Got it. Good.
Yeah.
So this could be the breeding females for an eventual qualification once they're ready. Okay. Yeah, you see the warts right there on the side of her. Hi, how are you? Yeah.
3 of them still qualified. 2 of them definitely. 3rd sort of had some problems that they're just sort of watching, but it wouldn't disqualify them if she
got
over. Yeah.
Got it.
You can sort of see sometimes they have watery eyes.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just something they're watching. So.
Okay.
So I'm sure you heard what I heard, that 2 of the heifers are still completely qualified. So the question you're probably having is, well, why aren't they going forward with the sacrifice to move forward with possibly building a 3rd temple? Well, you also heard at the beginning that the digs are stopped. And of course, the sacrifices are stopped for the same reason, the situation that occurred in Israel last year. And they're afraid if they do a sacrifice now, a similar situation might occur. So it's a political reason that they're not moving forward. Let's get back to the interview.
So going back to your question, how did I get involved? I was involved in an archaeological project down at Qumran using the Copper Scroll. And in 92, we found 1,500 pounds of spices. that we discovered after we did a quick test that it was the spices that you read about in Exodus 30. And we did a couple scientific tests, paleobotanists, and it comes out exactly the recipe of the spices. So it says beneath the spices, there's a purification for the ashes of the red heifer. So since 1988, I've been involved in those digs to try to find the ancient, what they call the kalal, because if you read about it in Numbers 19, they divide it in 3 parts. 1 part to use the ashes, 1 part in a safe place in the camp, and 1 for future generations. And that's what we are expecting. And it's speculation until you find something. But at least we know this isn't speculation anymore. So we're pretty certain beneath that we might find the ancient ashes, because historically they always mixed in the ancient old ones with the new heifer all the way through. So what I find interesting personally, just my own opinion, my own involvement, that last November we were working with 3 archaeologists to open up the cave beneath the spices and another cave that I'll talk about a little later, why this is important. Because of the Gaza situation, everything was stopped. So here, while I'm waiting to go back to help find the ancient ashes in Qumran area, against all odds, I find myself taking care of the potential new ones. So after 2,000 years to be involved in something that's sort of lining up, I just say, when the paleobotanist added the acid to see the ingredients, it released the aroma so strong that he said his shop vent pulled the aroma out, and the tree next to the shop, for about a month later, when he would come out there, he could smell the aroma come down off of the trees.
Wow.
And they say when they were burning it, like in Jerusalem, the women wouldn't wear perfume because,
I happen to know that those spices that were found by Vendell Jones and by Larry are now in the hands of the Temple Institute, the guys who are planning on rebuilding the temple and reinstituting temple sacrifices. Let's get back to the interview.
The age of these heifers right now?
My understanding is they'd be old enough for the process, but whenever that happens, when it happens, where it happens, I'll leave that up to the other people involved. So,
did you notice that he paused when he said where it will happen? Here, I want you to listen to this again, because he was sort of hesitant when he said that.
The age of these heifers right now?
My understanding is they'd be old enough for the process, but whenever that happens, when it happens, where it happens, I'll leave that up to the other people involved. So,
and the reason that he was hesitant is because the Jewish authorities in Jerusalem have always said that the sacrifice has to take place on the Mount of Olives, very public place, very visible place. But the original sacrifice took place there in Shiloh, right where these heifers are being stored. And the idea is perhaps in secret one day, far away from the public eye, they may do one of these sacrifices to produce the ashes of the red heifer before they are no longer of the correct age. They're going to be disqualified when they're 3 years old, and that's going to be in October. So they have very limited time. I got a feeling, based on what I just heard from him, an insider, that is still a possibility. They're waiting because they'd like to do it the way they want. But to me, that sounds like they have this other plan in mind. We'll see.
Because the Copper Scroll starts out in the desolations of the Valley of Achor, that puts you in a certain place.
Right.
Between Jericho and Sukkah, that gives you your, what I call your X. By the Wadi Hakipa, that's your Y.
Okay.
I'm sure that just sounded like gibberish to you. But let me tell you what a few things are. The Valley of Achor is the Jordan Valley in the area of the Dead Sea. From Jericho to Sukkah is telling you it's on the western side of the Dead Sea. Runes is telling you it's probably the Qumran runes. And the Wadi, like he said, is that Y coordinate that gives you the east-west point, and that puts you in Qumran. So that's what he's talking about there.
Okay.
And then it describes the Mahalot, climbing up the cave, the column. And in 89, a friend of ours that was reading the Copper Scroll said there should be a cave opening at a certain place, according to the Copper Scroll. And we looked all over the place. We couldn't find anything. So 4 of us were on top of this hill. 3 of us had given up, and the 4th guy said, "Hey guys, I fell into a hole." So we went up and looked, and we looked in front, and you could not see that there was anything there. But it started digging from the top of the hole, the top of the hill, and it came out the front. And here it ended up to be like an 18-foot cave opening. So we started cleaning that out in 92. And then at the bottom of the cave, we come across this stuff, and it looked like coffee grounds in the bedrock. And thought, that can't be too important because it didn't have any smell. And we were tossing this stuff off the side of the hill. Well, in archaeological dig, if you do find something different, you usually put it in a plastic bag, mark your quadrants, and afterwards you look at it. Well, somebody happened to put that plastic bag with this material out in the rock in the hot sun, and the hot sun released the aroma. And one of the volunteers opened it up and says, "This smells like cinnamon."
Wow.
And the archaeologist says, "Hold everything." So they quickly sent in a sample to get it tested. And Rick called back and says, "Those are the spices, the Ketoret of the temple." So then we started saving it, and I measured it all. It was 1,500 pounds. So the reason I point that out is that quite often you hear people say, well, the Copper Scroll is just a hoax or whatever. Well, if you think about it, way back then, you didn't go down to a hardware store and get a roll of copper. It had to be processed. It had to be so.
It's not a hoax. It's a big deal because of how hard that would be to make that scroll.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the main point was, unless one object is found in the Copper Scroll, then it makes the rest of it realize that it's for right.
I would say plausible for sure.
Yeah. So that's where
fascinating
this comes in. You should see the Jewish friends every morning. Those who repeat their prayers, they repeat the recipe of the incense. So when I hand this to my Jewish friends and say, that's the incense recipe that you've been repeating for thousands of years, and it's wow. You know, there's certain things that have been thought about, but when you see people here from all the nations seeing actual red heifers at Shiloh, then when you read Genesis 49, you can read it a little bit different than I did 2 weeks ago, put it that way. So, yeah.
And where were you a dairy farmer?
Northern Indiana.
Okay.
So here's a question for you. Was it God himself who may have delayed the sacrifice of the red heifer in order that Larry and his friends can find the ancient ashes of the red heifer to mix with the new ashes of the red heifer? It's certainly something to think about. And Larry and his friends know from the Copper Scroll where those ashes are located. They're beneath the incense that they've already found in one of those caves. So we could be that close to finding those ashes. Maybe it's something to pray about. Now, you know, the ashes aren't the only thing found in those caves. According to the scrolls, things that haven't been located yet. And in a future episode of this channel, we'll talk about what some of those other things are. But let's say the sacrifice does take place on the Mount of Olives. Are you aware that we know right where that's going to happen?
Wow. Pretty interesting information there. Did he say the heifers came from northern Indiana? No, that is a good question, Susan. He, the farmer, the guy talking there, not this guy, but the guy who was being interviewed here, is this guy. He was from, he's a farmer from northern Indiana. Yep. So there's your Indiana connection, Miss Susan. Yeah. So anyway, pretty interesting, I thought, and pretty good detail. That was something I was wondering about. I mean, I'd heard that they had found the ancient ashes, but this guy kind of confirms that no, not really. They know where they're at, but they don't have them. They know approximately where they're at, but they don't have them. So that's part of the whole key here to this thing. So if they find these ancient ashes sometime between now and October, my guess is that's probably the thing that will dictate whether or not they do the sacrifices right away. The other thing I would add is that they genetically engineer these red heifers, and I think that they can pretty much get a pure red heifer almost any time that they want. Now, within reason. So if these two that are left are, you know, if they wait too long and October passes by and they still haven't found the ancient ashes, then they would have to wait on the next group of red heifers, but that could be, who knows, in another year or so, or less. So it's possible that these two that are left don't get sacrificed, but it would be pretty much based on, I think, the ancient ashes and them locating them precisely where they are. So that's something to watch out for between now and October as to are these ashes found? Are they actually discovered? Sounds like they're very close to them. They've found the spices, so now it's just a matter of getting back there and digging. And that's all on hold because of the whole October 7th thing. Thought the heifers were found in Texas. Yeah, they were. They were shipped over there from a Texas farmer. Yep, that's right. Wouldn't genetically tampering with the cows in itself make them unclean? You would think so. You would think so. However, I think I've heard that the ones that they have there that we're even talking about tonight are already genetically engineered. So yes, you would think so. But like so many other things, it's probably one of those deals where the people who are doing the tampering are probably saying, well, if it wasn't God's will, we couldn't do this. Just a guess, but that's kind of what it seems like to me. But yeah, you would think that they indeed would be genetically inferior and tampered with, quote unquote. So anyway, I found that video and thought it was pretty interesting, and Nelson Walters on his channel did a really good job of, kind of laying out all of the stuff that's happened that's important and where it's still kind of headed in the next few months. So definitely something to keep an eye on. All right, let's keep moving here. From the International Man website, World War III, the catalyst for a new world order. So, yep, that's for sure what they're trying to do. This is a website I'd never heard of before, but it says total war between the world's largest powers that reshuffled the international order, defying the previous world wars. However, with the advent of nuclear weapons, total war between the largest powers today, Russia, China, and the U.S., means a nuclear Armageddon where there are no winners and only losers. That could still happen despite nobody wanting it, but it's not the most likely outcome, according to this website. World War III is unlikely to be a direct kinetic war between the world's largest powers like the previous world wars. Instead, the conflict is playing out on different levels. Proxy wars, economic wars, financial wars, cyber wars, biological wars, deniable sabotage, and information wars. Out of all three of these domains, I think proxy warfare will determine who wins World War III. Here's the bottom line. Russia, China, and their allies want to change the U.S.-led world order that has been in place since the end of World War II. The conflict is playing out on a level that is below the threshold of direct kinetic warfare because that could invite nuclear Armageddon. Nonetheless, there is a conflict between the biggest global powers to determine the world order as in previous world wars. As I see it, World War III is a conflict between two geopolitical blocs. First bloc consists of the U.S. and its allies who have hitched their wagons to the unipolar world order. I'm reluctant to call this bloc the West because the people who control it have values antithetical to the Western civilization. Yeah, no kidding, they hate it. Nonetheless, that's still who's running the show. A more fitting label would be NATO and friends. The other bloc comprises Russia, China, Iran, and a few countries favorable to a multipolar world order. Let's call them the BRICS Plus. BRICS Plus is not a perfect label, but it's a decent representation of the countries favorable to the multipolar world order. In short, BRICS Plus wants to transform the current world order from unipolar to multipolar and give themselves a bigger seat at the table. NATO and friends want unipolar. That's World War III, and it's happening now. NATO and friends want unipolar status quo to prevail. That's World War III, and it's happening now. It's important to remember that world orders are nothing new. So, anyway, there's more info here on this site. That was kind of interesting perspective. Site called internationalman.com. All right. I mentioned this earlier, and this is the new 9/11 World Trade Center collapse footage emerges after 23 years. Kai Sugimoto was 24 years old when he shot this video of the World Trade Center towers collapsing. 2 days ago, he released the never-before-seen video on his YouTube channel. He wrote in the description, "Footage I filmed of the World Trade Center collapsing on 9/11, 2001, filmed from the roof of 64 St. Mark's Place in New York City on a Sony VX2000 with teleconverter for historical archival purposes only. As one Redditor observed, quote, makes me wonder how much history is being stored in people's attics or basements waiting to be unearthed." Yeah, that kind of stuff does happen often. So, the footage is here. It's nothing you haven't really seen before from a different angle. So I would just say that, but it's certainly worth a watch. And because we just watched that long video, I won't bother playing very much. Well, here I can play a few seconds of it, I suppose. Let me see here. You can see he does kind of zoom in here, and they catch the first tower collapsing pretty close up. And then there's kind of a long pause. I'd forgotten how long the pause was between the destruction of the two buildings. But there was quite a bit of time there. That happens. The first one was about a minute into this video. And the second one is about 5 minutes in. So I guess it was about a 5 minute time between them detonating one building and detonating the other building Because we all know, and they even posit here in this video, that it probably wasn't the planes crashing into it that blew it up, that it looks like it blew up from the middle out. And I think they're pretty much correct. So anyway, kind of interesting. You can see that collapsing there. So again, this is available. It's out there on YouTube, and be happy to link to this article and the video itself in the Substack post. So yeah, pretty wild. New perspective. Breaking. Newly unearthed video from Trump shooting appears to show suppressed rifle fire from the first floor window underneath Crooks's rooftop, fired toward the Trump podium. It's a small clip of the hour's worth of footage this person has recovered from the fence line. So this video is here. It's embedded in the article. It's kind of pixelated. It says you can watch the full video of the slow motion version here, posted on Brighteon, but this video is somewhat pixelated due to the rendering at a lower bit rate. I'll mute it. If we go part way in here, you can kind of see what's happening. I think they slow it down, and you can see the flash right there. Now, I don't know the story exactly on this camera, so let me see. There it is, muzzle flash. Somebody walking by, perhaps? Let's see. User on X has posted a video that he says he recorded himself at the Trump shooting, capturing what appears to be the firing of a suppressed rifle from inside the first floor window of the very same building on which Crooks was crawling on the roof. Although further confirmations are needed, and this user says he will post his raw video within a day or so unless it's some sort of elaborate hoax requiring very technical audio and video alterations. This video appears to have captured a new shooter that has previously not been known to exist. Importantly, this apparent shot took place just over 9 seconds after the first round was fired, meaning it would be round number 10, making the counter sniper shot from the U.S. Secret Service round number 11 at approximately 16 seconds after the first round was fired. Following two images capture what appears to be muzzle blast from a rifle fired from inside a room of the first floor of the building. You would think, though, that they would have been a better shot. You know what I mean? It wasn't that far away. For people who really know what they're doing, you would have think that there would have been absolutely no way Trump would have walked out of there alive. But, of course, God was protecting him. So many people say and believe. I think that probably was true. However, he wasn't exactly cornered like JFK was. So let's see here. Conclusions. The source of this video needs to be vetted. We've reached out to the user who posted it, and we are requesting the original raw video for further analysis. If this video is a hoax, it would represent a very difficult hoax to carry out, requiring strong technical skills in audio and video editing. If it is authentic, it completely changes the line of questioning and timeline of the events surrounding the attempted assassination of Donald J. Trump. If this video is authentic, then there is another shooter who clearly wasn't aiming for Crooks. Stay tuned as more details emerge. So, naturalnews.com is where that one is. Thought that was pretty interesting, huh? Pretty wild. Netanyahu calls on U.S. to create a new NATO-like military alliance in the Middle East. Bibi spoke at a joint session of Congress, yes, and they kept giving him standing O's. Vowing total victory against Hamas while calling for the creation of a new multinational military alliance that would deal with Israel's primary Middle East nemesis, Iran. Yes. So, kind of interesting, but yes, Bibi was just recently in D.C., as many of you guys know. And they sure love him there, that's for sure. They didn't arrest him, unfortunately. Apparently there's a lot of talk of that happening, not necessarily in D.C., but just if he lands in certain other countries of the world, pretty much anywhere but the U.S., I guess, and Israel. So, I don't know. I don't see that happening, but arrest him for war crimes, I say. All right, winepressnews.com. Faux meat company launches plant-based ribs with edible bones made from soy. Yum, yum. At least it's not made from crickets, I guess. But that sounds pretty gross. Let's see. See some of the other headlines on Wine Press News. Congratulations, USA. We have reached $35 trillion in debt, which is impossible to pay back, by the way. Yeah, I think it's every 100 days. Another trillion in debt. Every 100 days, approximately. I remembered we were showing the U.S. debt clock there almost every day for a while because of the hidden messages that were embedded there on their website. But I haven't shown it in a while, but yeah, it was at 34 trillion then, and that only was probably around 100 days ago or less. So let's see. Dystopian largest grocery store chain in Japan uses AI to monitor staff smiles, speech tones, and issues game scores to improve quality service. It's in Japan. Transgender athletes take first, second, and third on the podium for women's cycling championship in Washington. What I don't know is if they're allowing these transgender freaks to compete in the Olympics. I don't think so, but I don't know that for sure. So if you guys know, let me know. Not that I'll be watching it, but let's see. Uniparty. Far-left groups in the West are now becoming seen as the pro-war party. Yes, they are. Indeed. It says Photo Bucket, website for photographers, will begin to sell users biometric data, including fingerprints, voice, genetics, and gestures to train AI with no choice to opt out. So for you Photo Bucket users, you might want to think again. So anyway, that was on WinePress, winepressnews.com. Let's see, some of the headlines on Gateway Pundit. I mentioned this earlier. Social media users point to Revelation 6:8 after Paris Olympics open up with rider on a pale horse. So the video is here. You can see the mechanical horse here. I'm sure it was just a coincidence. They didn't really mean to. Behold a pale horse. God will not be mocked. This is blasphemy, all satanic. Boycott the Olympics. Go woke, go broke. Who's with me? One user said. I think that's a good plan. Anyway, Gateway Pundit is where that one is. YouTuber arrested for deliberately derailing trains for views. Man, this kid's got to get a job or something. Good grief. A teenage YouTuber has been arrested after allegedly derailing trains in Nebraska to gain views on his YouTube channel. 17-year-old Nebraska teenager has been charged with 2 felony counts of criminal mischief after allegedly derailing trains and filming them. Wow. Has he been in Pennsylvania recently? Within the last year or so? So, very strange. So yeah, that's on Gateway Pundit, and next 2 articles are. And then this is the 9/11 video. Nearly 1 hour of never before seen in 9/11 World Trade Center collapse footage resurfaces. He found the tapes while cleaning his closet. He just forgot about it. It was spectacular. Joe Biden gushes over the sick anti-Christian Olympic ceremony and vile speech. So Jill loved the mocking of Jesus. She thought it was wonderful. Are you surprised? Me neither. Report: Barack Obama threatened to use the 25th Amendment to remove Joe after his medical incident in Vegas and had Kamala had her approval to do so. Biden suffered an undisclosed medical emergency while in Vegas, and we know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and apparently it did. On July 17th, that was never disclosed to the public. Just like they do everything, they gaslight and cover up. Now, according to a report from a respected longtime investigative journalist versus a journalist who is not respected, I suppose, an equally explosive incident followed just a few days later. On Saturday, Seymour Hersh wrote on his Substack that sources told him that Barack Obama had called Biden 3 days after the disturbing incident, which, by the way, Laura Loomer reported that this happened, and she was given a lot of grief over not being able to prove it and so forth. And she stuck by her guns, I think. metaphysically stuck by her guns. And I think she was right. There was some sort of incident, medical emergency of some sort. It says Obama reportedly told Biden on July 20th that he had Kamala's approval to use the 25th Amendment to kick him out of office. You read that right. Harris was reportedly on board with declaring old Joe incapacitated and kicking him to the curb. Seymour Hersh says, I went over reports this week with a senior official in Washington who helped me fashion an account of a White House in complete disarray. Obama called Biden after breakfast on July 20th and said, here's the deal. We have Kamala's approval to invoke the 25th Amendment, he continued. Since Hersh's post is only for paid subscribers, here is the relevant snippet, which is basically what I just read. So they needed her approval, I guess, because she would be the one to replace. So therefore, he's now stepping down from the election process, from election 24. So yeah, we'll see. Of course, he's going to stay in office, I guess. Let's go, Brenda. I mentioned this earlier. Store in Jersey introduces merchandise roasting Kamala Harris, and sales are going nuts. Let's go, Brenda. After Biden was forced out of the race last Sunday in a palace coup, one unfortunate casualty was having to retire the phrase, let's go, Brandon, which had been a brilliant way to mock the mentally declining White House occupant. America will have to endure cackling Kamala Harris for at least several months. This guy who runs a store in Jersey, that with that famous phrase, suddenly had to call an audible. Within one day, however, he was able to create fresh merchandise targeting the presumptive Democrat Party presidential nominee. I would say we will see. Hillary has not spoken yet on that. We made them on Monday, he says in a New York Post interview. People are now purchasing the new products in droves. Sales are going nuts. Biden dropped out, but Kamala has the same views, even worse, and she's even more of a socialist. So let's go, Brenda. So she's got the clown face. So anyway, there you go. Apparently shirts and things like that. So if you start hearing, let's go, Brenda, it's all started at this store in Jersey. Pretty funny. Truthandmedia.com. We have Zelensky Unmasked. This week's episode, Zelensky's raid on Ukraine's largest monastery. So, kind of interesting. And again, the episodes are pretty short. Certainly worth checking out. ActivistPost.com. Some of the headlines, the abstract, the Nazis, the CIA. Kind of interesting. What else we got? 10 points about post-lockdown economics. Is this a blatant indicator for the next false flag disease? Got the old bird flu. Getting ready for it. I don't know anybody that's afraid of the bird flu, though. Even birds. All the birds I've interviewed have told me they're not afraid. Canada's worst decline in 40 years. Yep, thanks to Tampon Trudeau, most likely. Boeing, money printing in the military-industrial complex. So these are just a few of the headlines over on activistpost.com. There's quite a few here. African countries are turning to gold. Uh-oh. Sounds like a reason to invade Africa. All right, so that's on Activist Post. Now, let's see. So this is a video I wanted to play for you, and I've got a little twist to this because I've done a little editing here myself. And I thought you might want to hear this, though. It's really funny. So Elon Musk shared this, and it is really good. It says he shared this parody of a Kamala ad, and it's just perfect. Thank you so much, Elon, for putting this on my radar today. This is amazing. I present to you the only Kamala Harris campaign ad worth watching. And I would say that this is all AI. It's all an AI version of her voice, but it's really good. And so what I did was, I'm going to play the commercial, but I'm not going to use the original audio because it's got a bunch of music in it, and I don't want a copyright strike for the music because they can flag your video and or stop your live stream. So what I did was I removed the music as best I could, which is not easy to do, by the way, but I do have a few tricks up my sleeve. And so we have a version here that's got the music pretty much removed. It's reduced. about 90+%. And I don't think it'll be an issue, but what I did was, it's a separate audio file from the video here that I'm going to play. So I'm going to try and time it. It may be off a little bit, but I will fix it in post, as they say. I'm going to try and time it because I'm going to play the audio and then start the video. And it will be in sync, maybe drift a little bit, but it's really worth watching, and the audio is really funny. It's very well done. So here we go. I'm going to start with this. This is the audio that I redid, removing the music. That's the only thing I did. I just took the music out as much as possible so that I wouldn't get a copyright violation type of thing. So here we go. All right. I got 3 seconds here before when I click this, I have 3 seconds to start the video. So here we go.
I, Kamala Harris, and your Democrat candidate for president, because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression.
So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean, Joe Biden. Do you think the country went to over the past 4 years? You ain't seen nothing yet.
There you have it. I thought that was pretty wild. Very well done as far as the AI voice goes of her. Haters will say it's a deep fake. Yeah, so, yeah, believe it or not, this is art. This parody ad tells you everything you need to know about Kamala. So, I think this one episode has talked about Kamala way more than we've ever talked about her in total across the years here since we've started this show. Anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. All right, why did God save Trump but not Corey Compertori? That's a great question, but don't stop there. Ever since the failed assassination attempt, there has been a predictable surge in talk about angels, demons, providence, fate, and spiritual warfare. Supporters of the former president have been quick to conclude it was an act of divine intervention that spared his life. Says U.S. Senator Tim Scott took it a step further that in his convention speech, drawing parallels between both the would-be assassin and Satan, as well as Donald Trump and Jesus. Nice. So, I don't think so. But the quote was, "Thank God Almighty," Scott said, "our God still saves, still delivers, still sets free, because on Saturday the devil came to Pennsylvania holding a rifle, but an American lion got back up on his feet and he roared." So he's calling him the Lion of Judah, I guess. Not only did God save President Trump from assassination, some have proposed that he even gave us divine numerological indicators of his work. And this is something that I noticed as well. And this is true. Bullets were fired at 6:11 p.m. Ephesians 6:11. Put on the armor of God so that you may be able to stand firm against the tactics of the devil. I don't think that was an accident. Meanwhile, there were plenty of folks who found the premise of God saved Trump very off-putting, suggesting that it necessarily implies God was simultaneously incapable of or uninterested in saving Corey Compertori. And then Joy Behar from The View, when something like this happens to you, like this assassination attempt, I'm surprised she called it that, and you say something like, God was watching me, that is a very un-Christian thing to say because it's very narcissistic. No, not necessarily. Says, so what to make of it all? Before I answer that question, I think it's important to establish that you should only trust my conclusions if they're consistent with the only reliable foundation we humans have to discuss eternal supernatural matters. The Bible alone provides insights to the inexpressible mind and mysterious ways of a God so far beyond our feeble minds, we can only begin to fathom. His thoughts are not like our thoughts, and his ways are not like our ways. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so his thoughts are higher than ours. Isaiah 55, 8-9. To the degree that my comments about this spiritual matters are consistent with the teaching of Scripture, you can trust them. Where they depart from it, you should trust them no more than any other man's opinions. Of course, God should receive the credit for sparing the life of Donald Trump on July 13th. That is only a question to those who fundamentally misunderstand the nature of God and humanity both. It was God's graciousness towards Trump that allowed him to wake up on July 14th, just like it was his graciousness towards Trump that allowed him to wake up on July 13th, 12th, 11th, 10th, and all the days before. Each of them is just as miraculous as the next. I'm not being obtuse. Every good gift we receive on this earth, that is, every good thing that happens to us, is not the result of luck, chance, or our wisdom, strength, or foresight. It is only by the willful act of a good God, James 1:17, who gives us not what our sinful choices have earned, Romans 3:23, but instead numerous, countless, unending joys and blessings every day. The very breath in our lungs comes only by his grace towards us, Acts 17:25. I'm not downplaying the miraculous nature of God saving Trump from a bullet. Much the opposite. I'm trying to express how miraculous God is to have sustained him and all of us from a million different daily dangers and ploys by the devil to hurt, harm, and destroy him. It's not that we shouldn't be amazed at God's goodness on July 13th. It's just that we should be amazed by God's goodness every day. Psalm 118:24. That is Christian theology. In the same way, we know Satan despises us. As image bearers of the Almighty God he hates, Genesis 1:27, he wants nothing more than to hurt, harm, and destroy us. 1 Peter 5:8. As the author of confusion and the father of lies, John 8:44, whatever can cause turmoil, upheaval, bitterness, rage, and hatred among humanity, he will attempt, John 10:10. That is why it was wholly appropriate for Christians to not only thank God for sparing the life of the former president, but also thank him for sparing us all of the likely unrest and discord that his assassination would have undoubtedly produced. But what of Corey Compatore? May God be praised for every day of unmerited, unearned blessing he poured out on Corey's life. May God be praised for the gift of salvation he offered Corey, and Corey accepted through Jesus Christ. May God be praised for the reality that since Corey trusted in him, he didn't really die. John 11:25-26. He was simply changed and transformed, ushered into paradise. Every tear wiped from his eyes, to begin a life in glory without end. Revelation 21:4. Weep for those who Corey left behind for a little while, but don't weep for Corey. Praise God for truly saving him. But why Trump and not Compatore? That's not the only question we should be asking. Why July 13th and not July 14th? Why in that way and not in another way? These are questions that must be put to a mind whose thoughts are far beyond my own, knowing our minds could never fully grasp his ways, no matter how many pages he gave us. God did offer us a way to find peace by reminding us that while here, rain will fall on the just and the unjust, just as the sun will rise on the evil and the good. Matthew 5:45. Faith in God is no promise of physical safety and security. Stephen was a young, bold voice in the first century church, and a mob stoned him to death. The Apostle Paul was God's greatest missionary, and he was shipwrecked, beaten, tortured, and eventually beheaded. John the Baptist prepared the way for Jesus, and he also lost his head. We don't earn God's blessing. We receive it because he loves us. And because of how great that love is, even when we meet our appointed time with earthly death, he has offered us a way out. Corey Comparatori took that way. Praise God. Who's to say others weren't spared so that they might be wise enough to follow his example? I thought that was pretty good. I know I read basically the whole thing here, but I thought that was really well done. That's on notthebee.com, and which is generally a funny type of site, but I thought the author, a guy named Peter Heck, I thought the author did a good job on that article. I just wanted to pass that along. Okay, so speaking of notthebee.com, got a couple of sort of bizarre stories about digits. And by digits, I don't mean ones and zeros. I mean digits. Australian field hockey player has a broken finger. Okay, that's not unusual. But he had it partially amputated so that he can play in the Olympics. Yo, this is what dedication looks like right here. I wouldn't call it that personally. Matt Dawson of the Australian field hockey team broke the ring finger on his right hand a few weeks ago, and instead of having surgery to repair it, which would have required months of recovery, he decided to amputate it from the knuckle up. What is wrong with this guy? Hockey star Matt Dawson amputates finger to play at the Olympics. Yes. That is awesome. No, I would say no, it's not. Bro is going to leave it all in the field, and by that, I mean the top half of his finger. Dawson told media the break was so bad that he passed out when he saw his finger in the changing room. He thought his Olympic dream was over. He urgently consulted a plastic surgeon who said that even with surgery to repair the finger and the long recovery time, it may not regain full function. But if it was amputated, he could go back to playing in 10 days, despite being warned by his wife not to do anything rash. Dawson says he made his informed decision that same afternoon. The break came during practice 2 weeks ago when Dawson was struck by a hockey stick. But he'll be on the field Sunday, just 16 days after he broke his finger to face off against Argentina. There he is. Good grief. He says, I'm definitely closer to the end of my career than the start, and who knows, this could be my last Olympics, and if I felt I could still perform at my best, then that's what I was going to do. If taking the top of my finger was the price I had to pay, that's what I would do. Boy, it's going to be hard not to root for the Aussies after coming across this story. Anyways, there you go. Yeah, it takes give it till it hurts to a whole new level. Yes, it does. So I found that article and then followed that up with this one, another finger story. I don't know why. That's not what the bird has here. He's just got a worm. Mystery finger found in Tacoma finally returned to its owner. A mystery finger. Earlier this month, around the 4th of July, hint, hint, Tacoma, Washington police were alerted to a human finger just lying on the ground. Investigating officers said they did not find any blood in the area, and the finger looked like it had been left there by an animal, probably a bird. That's why they're showing the bird. Police investigated the finger's origin. They ran the print. So somebody had to take its fingerprint, the finger's fingerprint, with a portable fingerprint scanner. Why would it have to be portable? The finger is portable. It's a portable finger. Somebody could put it in their pocket and go do the scan. And checked with local hospitals to see if someone had been dismembered, but everything they tried came up empty-handed. Oh, I see what you did there. Empty-handed. TPD Public Information Officer Detective William Muse documented the department's efforts to locate the finger's owner and then turn it over to the Pierce County Medical Examiner's office. Weeks later, someone called in claiming the finger. So I don't know how they found out about it. The man identified himself by his surname and admitted to losing multiple digits messing around with some fireworks, quote unquote, which is what this guy's doing, who's also missing an arm. Looks like maybe from The Simpsons. Says this bears repeating. The guy lost multiple fingers playing with fireworks, but there were no hospital reports. Why didn't he go to the hospital? Rather than asking a useful question like that, the police just wanted to be sure it was the right guy because apparently the handful of missing fingers wasn't evidence enough. Muse didn't provide the identity of the man who claimed the finger in his statement. He did explain the latent prints on the recovered finger correspond with the information about the person available in the FBI database. What is he doing in the FBI database? What was he making conservative memes or something? I'm going to guess probably not, since the Washington police let him go. So yeah, this guy was in the FBI database. No wonder he didn't run to the hospital and report it. So it says Muse concluded his statement by saying the case hasn't been assigned to an investigator and added that no criminal charges will be pursued. And this is the part of the story that really gets me. The police returned the finger to the owner. It's been weeks since it came off. There's no way that it's going back on now. So what's he going to do with it? You can see him playing around with it there. Not really, but pretty interesting magic trick. And that will really flip out any little kids that watch this, by the way. But this guy really has done an amazing sleight of hand. Anyway, really wild. So, finger stories tonight on the Diamond Report. All right, let's keep moving. New York Police Department arresting Macy's shoplifters 30 times a day amid illegal alien crime wave. Police warn foreign criminals terrorizing NYC while mainstream media claims there's no migrant crime wave. That's true. That they're actually telling the truth there because they don't report it, so therefore it doesn't exist. Police in New York City are arresting shoplifters up to 30 times per day at one Macy's store as migrant crime spirals out of control, according to reports. The one in Midtown Manhattan. I've been right by there before. Macy's. Yep. 30 times a day. But there's no migrant crime wave. Senator Warren says Kamala will work to grant millions of illegal aliens a pathway to citizenship. I think we just heard her say that in the video we just watched. A lot of that part is what we need to do for comprehensive immigration reform. Kamala will work with Congress and get that done. Yeah, crazy Elizabeth Warren, also known as Pocahontas, says. So anyway, and then a couple more. Oh, Biden Inc. must finish destroying the United States. Joe Biden, the coward-in-chief, has embarrassed the United States for nearly 4 long years. There's no doubt that he's a puppet for the deep state operation to destroy the U.S. from within. Yep. Learn why Satan rules the earth. This three-dimensional realm is the devil's dominion. AJ breaks it down. Cites biblical scripture to break down why Satan has been allowed dominion over the earth and how that's resulted in many fame-starved celebrities, politicians, and power brokers selling their soul for personal gain. So I bet that's an interesting listen. And here's the official Paris Olympics logo. If you hadn't seen it, I didn't know that that's what it looked like, but apparently that's it. And I think it's very appropriate, actually. So it's nice. And then I mentioned the Let's Go Brenda. Well, this is kind of a offshoot of that story. Let's Go Brandon flags are at half staff. It's possibly the most hilarious thing I've seen so far this month. That is pretty funny, actually, yeah. Let's Go Brandon flag at half staff. He's not dead, though. He's just not running again. Well, we don't know. We don't know. Have you guys seen the video of the guy, the version of Joe Biden that's like 6 or 8 inches taller than the normal one, out there walking around in front of Jill, and goes out and says hello to the crowd at the White House? Please say that's not the official logo. It's not. It's not. I was joking. This is not the official logo of the Paris Olympics, but it might as well be. No, I'll show you the official one here in a minute, because I have something to say about that. So we'll look at that in just a sec. But yes, Let's Go Brandon flags are at half staff. Photo of Trump's ear without a bandage sends the leftists into conspiracy frenzy. Wait a minute, I thought it was only the people on the right that were the conspiracy theorists. Eargate, that's what they're calling it. Eargate truthers claim it wasn't a bullet that hit Trump. They obviously don't know what grazing means. Grazing means you weren't hit directly. It grazes by you. Image of Trump's right ear without a bandage has prompted leftists to resume with suggestions that he wasn't really hit by a bullet. The image taken from an interview Tuesday shows Trump has some light bruising around the top of the ear. You can kind of see it there. Aside from this, the ear's intact. Says this immediately sent deranged Eargate truthers into a spin. See, they're assuming that Trump's ear was blown off. Well, they assumed wrong. Yes, it was bleeding, but it's interesting that the post here has been fact-checked, and it says all Trump Mar-a-Lago interviews that have aired since the shooting in Butler, PA, were all taped prior to the rally. This is a still shot from an interview which occurred on July 13th. Fox has been releasing bits of the interview over 7 days. I don't know if I buy that. I think the fact checkers have that timeline wrong, maybe. I don't know. So, yeah, you can see the people here. It's a miracle. Trump's ear boo-boo is all better now. And a picture taken yesterday of Trump's ear shows no scars, scarring, stitches, or wound. Not a speck of blood on his collar. And check how clean his hand was all the way to standing in the SUV step. So this is all the conspiracy theorists on Twitter. Pretty funny. There's also a photo of the bullet flying past Trump's head. They would probably say that that's not real. As we previously highlighted, a third of Biden voters believe that the assassination attempt was staged by Trump himself, but they are not conspiracy theorists. There's the bullet. A third of Democrats, presumably those who believe the attempt on his life was real, have expressed a wish that the shooter hadn't missed, which we've all heard that. Meanwhile, NBC is reporting that Trump intends to stop holding outdoor rallies at the request of the SS. So that's on modernity.news. And then one more from that site. Biden posts, "It's great to be back at the White House." Internet responds with hilarity. "Bro, you even alive?" Question mark was one of the responses. Whoever is in charge of Biden's X account posted an image of him walking into the White House Wednesday with the caption, "It's great to be back." And hilarity ensued. And then one of the tweets was, "Great for who? Surprised he was allowed back? Just wait till he finds out the trouble the kids have been up to while he was gone." Pretty funny. "Yo, Joe, did anybody tell you your party committed a coup against you?" Yes, but he committed a coup against the Trump administration and the election in 2020. So there's been a coup against the couper. First time back after the coup. So there's some funny ones here. Why is your staffer posting on X in third person? Do the interns that write these posts for you realize that you're no longer relevant? Bro, are you even alive? You're not fit to serve and you should resign your position, but it is nice to see that you're not dead. This guy says, could you do us a solid and hold up today's newspaper? I like that one. They recycle old photos of Biden all the time on the White House Instagram. They probably should have checked the weather on this one. Oh, okay. That's interesting. So it was 83 and cloudy and rainy, and yet, look, it's sunshiny and nice when they posted it. That's funny. Lame Duck says, what? Anyways, there's some funny ones. There's even more, but I digress. VaccineImpact.com, Israel bombs Syrian Arabs in occupied Golan Heights and blames it on Hezbollah in false flag attack. So that's what we mentioned at the beginning of this show. That's what it's looking like. Who knows what's true at this point, but yeah, I mean, they're obviously blaming Hezbollah and they want to go to war and now and fast with Iran ultimately. Well, in Israel wants to go to war with Iran, but I guess Russia too. Being how they're all on the same side over there. As far as Iran and Russia and Lebanon and Syria and all of those countries teaming up. But yeah, Israel wants their war. My guess is they will get it. Okay, next article. Where is your citizenship registered? Netanyahu begs for more military aid as Yemen leader vows more strikes on Tel Aviv. Netanyahu gets standing ovation, yeah, a whole bunch of them, promoting war with Iran while Yemen leader announces beginning of fifth phase in the war with more attacks on Tel Aviv. And I guess you guys probably saw that Musk was at the Netanyahu's speech the other day. Elon Musk shows up for Netanyahu's speech to Congress on the same day Tesla loses $90 billion in big tech market bloodbath. Elon Musk obeying his Zionist puppet masters, ? Yeah, who knows? Maybe so. Lack of IT-skilled human workers is leading a cyber pandemic. 500,000 cybersecurity jobs unfilled in the U.S. Interesting. That's a lot. Well, I guess AI will step up and take over. What might Trump's cabinet look like in a second term? Would he drain the swamp or fill it back up? My guess is probably that second thing. Yeah, those are on vaccineimpact.com. Quite a few articles on there. And then GeoWatch for this week. We are coming to a close here tonight. GeoWatch for this week, July 27th. Park fire, one of the largest and most fierce in California's history, is right on my doorstep. I talked to Dane yesterday, and yes, he was saying that it's not all that far away from his place. Time to prepare. This is the latest in a long and growing list of unprecedented firestorms. Will the record fires all over the world finally wake the masses? Let's hope so. Breaking dire headlines about the rapidly deteriorating state of the environment are pouring in from so many directions it's impossible to cover all the incoming reports. The heat, fires, and constant smoke canopy in Northern California are relentless. The Park Fire is only one of dozens burning in the western U.S. In many parts of the world, the firestorm situation is the same. Without enough functional habitat, the human race will not survive. How long can the current trend continue? What will be the response of global governments to all that is unfolding? I would say war. Wouldn't you? Anyway, fire apocalypse. Yeah, he was saying, he told me yesterday that the Park Fire was 0% contained as of yesterday, whenever I talked to him. So that's not good news. So say a prayer for Mr. Dane. Hope that they are going to be okay. All right, and then here is the scheduled weather for the coming next few days, valid August 3 through the 7th. Wow, it's almost August already. That is crazy. Anyway, above normal in the west, you can see kind of what we were just mentioning. And still pretty warm in the rest of the country as well. It's going to be a pretty warm next few days, it's looking like. And then last few articles here on Israel 365 News, Hezbollah rocket kills 12, mostly children, in Golan Druze town. They are quick to point the finger here, but may not be true. You know, Hezbollah had said early on, right away, we didn't do it. If they really wanted to be at war with Israel, wouldn't they claim to have done it? Especially if they actually did do it. I think it's just Israel pointing the finger and giving yet another excuse to go to war, just like on October 7th last year, the stand down, where they let the Hamas soldiers come in and create havoc, create chaos, and then Israel did most of the killing to its own people. It's pretty obvious what's going on. Olympic opening ceremony parodies Jesus in drag, which I mentioned earlier. Got the giant bull head as well. So yes, golden calf, really? Of course they did. Yeah, and of course the rider on the pale horse. So that's on Israel 365 News. They're even bothering to report it. All right, here's the actual real Olympics logo for Paris 2024. What do you see? I'm asking in chat. What do you see when you see that? I'll tell you what I see. Let me see what you guys say. Has the Falun Gong arrived in America? Susan says. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, so here's what I see. The obvious thing here is you're supposed to see it as a flame. But I am seeing, now that we know what the opening ceremonies was about, as far as the drag queens and so forth, and that there were even, I think, a few drag queens that were bringing the torch in at one point, carrying the torch. Don't you see a female face with the lips here? The white is the face, the gold is the hair drooped over the face, and this right here, I don't know if you can see it. You see if I can zoom in. Man, it doesn't really work. But yeah, you can see that the this little spot right here is very definitively lips. So, yep, it's a face, and I would say it's probably meant to be a man in drag, perhaps? I don't know. So, anyway, yeah. So that is the official Paris logo and Paris 2024 logo. And here is what I consider the real Paris 2024 logo. All right. So anyways, I was going to mention this. I think we're running long tonight, so let's save it for next week. And we'll kind of get into this next week a little bit and kind of go over some of these items in this event timeline, end times events timeline that I came up with about a year plus ago, and we'll go through that next week. All right, so make sure you're on the Substack. If you're not already, please sign up, totally free, and it's also a way to contribute to what I'm doing if you are so inclined and want to help out somebody who is trying to help bring information to you guys and anybody who's listening out there. So, yeah, I certainly would appreciate that. There's a mechanism there to do that. You can click through on the Substack post and sign up to do, $5 a month if you want, or one-time donation or whatever. But no pressure. No pressure if you don't want to. I totally understand. And I understand, too, that the times are tough. So if you want, you can just click on there and put your email address in, or click no thanks, and you go right to this page. This is the Substack page that has the links and the podcast. So it has the links to all of the shows, pretty much, going back quite a ways. So I've been using Substack for quite some time now. So there's a lot of stuff on here. Feel free to have a look at that if you want. And I wanted to mention, while I've got you guys here, and before you tune out, well, here's the store. Here's the Diamond Disc. the Diamond Report store. So shop.thediamond.report. And here's some of the items that are available. And I've got some of those types of things here, actually. They're really good quality. There's the stickers. Here's the mug. This is, this is my music company, Diamond Disc Audio. And then here is a water bottle. End Times Dates water bottle. Really good quality. Yeah, I've had some really good reports on the products. So lots of cool stuff there. And they seem to be really well made. So I've had nothing but good reports on that stuff. So if you're interested in supporting the show, that's a really good way to do it as well. You can get a shirt, you can get a hat. I've got the Conspiracy Analyst hats and Diamond Report mugs and End Times Dates and a number of different things here. So feel free to have a look at that if you are interested. Shop.thediamond.report is where that is. And then my friends, the Verbas, I think may still be here in chat. I don't know. If you're here, say hello. The Verba Family Well Pump Fund. So I kind of twisted their arm and asked them to set up a Give, Send, Go on this so that people who want to help them may. Verba Family is looking to raise $2,000 for a replacement well pump in their home. So they are, I guess, having to carry water. I don't know exactly how they're getting water, but she may have said in, if you guys were chatting about it in the chat, I don't know. We've talked with a local well tech who comes out this far, and he quoted us for labor and parts at $1,200, but he didn't mention it might take a little more because our well is deeper than most local wells. Any and all donations are welcome and very much appreciated. So, yeah, please help out the Verbas. They are some good folks, and obviously they have a few little kids here, so they need water. I think they need water. So it's kind of an important little thing to make sure that they're covered there. So I would say continue to pray for them if you're not already. Definitely be praying for them and for their family. And I do, and hope you guys do as well. And in fact, we should all be praying for each other. We should do that. So if we're not already, definitely try and do that. All you guys in chat, pray for each other and try and remember me this week as well, and really our world, because man, we are in quite the predicament here. Our rulers have made sure that that's the case. So anyways, the least we could do is help out the Verbas because they're needing something that's just a basic. So you can even put that you're praying right here on the Give, Send, Go. And we'll link to this in the Substack post that we send out this week. But it's givesendgo.com/GCYKG. I'm not exactly sure what those letters mean, but GCYKG is what the last few letters are, if you want to go right to it. So yes, I see some prayers, hands, and icons in the chat. So yes, definitely be praying for them and help them out, if you will. And they're trying to raise a few bucks, and hopefully they'll be able to make it to their destination there with the funds so that they can get their well pump replaced. And we hope that fixes the problem. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth, I guess, on that. And then make sure you're signed up on, if you happen to be on Twitter/X, make sure you're following along on the Diamond Report on there. x.com/thediamondrprt, the Diamond Report. And I like to tweet and retweet things on here. I thought it was kind of interesting. We were talking about the whole Olympics thing a lot tonight. Andrew Tate, and you guys, there he is. You guys might know who he is. Says he posted today, I am protesting outside the French embassy after mocking Jesus during the Olympic ceremony. The police are threatening to arrest me for unlawful assembly. I'm currently out on bail and will face a minimum of 3 months in prison, and I do this as a Muslim. Where are the Christians? He says. Yeah, he's a Muslim. So, wow. I mean, that's crazy. He says, I'm boycotting the Olympics. I will watch nothing. So he's out there protesting. Let's hope he doesn't get arrested. So, yeah. And let's see. I've got quite a few things that I've tweeted and retweeted. Yeah, here's the the flashy thing. Kamala was never the border czar. Yep. I don't remember her ever being the border czar. I'm sure you don't either. The same party that says Trump will end democracy just installed a presidential candidate that not one primary voter voted for. Yeah, but you're not supposed to notice that. Here's the DC Drano stuff I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast. So there's quite a bit here. So I like to try and retweet some important info. So make sure you're following along on Twitter/X on the Diamond Report. And then here is the YouTube channel. Take it to Lord of Prayer End Times Dates. And note that if you click on playlists, right here is a playlist for all the End Times Dates episodes. So if you haven't seen any of those, try to watch some of them. See what you think. Let me know what you think. There's 15 total episodes. But they're not all on YouTube because some of them have gotten banned. So I think I've got a couple of extra interviews in there. But yeah, we're missing a few on YouTube. But the missing ones are over on my Rumble channel and on the other channels as well. BitChute and Brighteon. So, and here's Rumble. Here's BitChute. Here's Brighteon. I am Diamond Disc, DIAMONDISC. That is my company name, is what that is, on Brighteon and BitChute and Rumble. So you can find me there. And then make sure you join the band group if you're not already. Got quite a few people watching on Rumble. So hello to the Rumblers out there. Quite a few people watching there. Actually, more people watching on Rumble than YouTube at the moment. So that's good news. But note that I will have to take this broadcast down as soon as I'm done tonight, and I will repost it again after I've tightened up a few things and taken out the medical misinformation for YouTube. But the show will be in its full form, though, back on Rumble and on BitChute and Brighteon and Facebook if they allow it. It's sort of a toss-up with them at this point. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but we'll have the full broadcast up on those platforms tomorrow. YouTube, it will be Tuesday. That's where that'll be. So, anyway, join the band group. Miss Emily's posted the link to join in chat on Rumble and on YouTube. So, it's in both places. Let's see here. I'm looking to see if you guys posted the link. Yeah, there's the Give, Send, Go. Miss Emily posted the link for Give, Send, Go in chat. So yeah, make sure you guys are there in the band group. Totally free to join, and just people in there sharing information and posting the things that they're looking at as things happen. It's a good way to report the news too. I mean, I use it myself for things that happen during the week. If something pops up, and if I'm early on the ball picking up something, I will drop it in band so that people get a notification that whatever it is has happened. So this is definitely something that we need to think about in the coming few days and weeks, I think, with this whole thing blowing up in Israel, maybe quite literally. So yeah, we will see how things transpire this week. I hope you guys have a blessed week, and I'll wrap it up for tonight. We're kind of going long tonight, so we'll see how things work. We'll see exactly what transpires with the whole Israel and Hezbollah thing with Lebanon. It doesn't look good. I think they're using this whole thing with the kids on the soccer field to obviously point the finger and blame and start this whole thing up again. Only this time with a whole other country. So, whole other country and whole other organization. So we will see what all unfolds. But we do know that God is in control. So if nothing else, I hope you come away from this show with that in mind. God is in control. And I know things are looking very bleak at times, but just keep God, keep Jesus Christ in your life, and you won't have any worries. I won't say that things are going to be easy. I'm never going to say that. But you won't be worried about where you're going to end up if Jesus is front and center in your life. So just keep praying for me. Pray for this show if you don't mind. And yes, much love to you all as well. So thank you guys very much. It's been a blessing being here tonight with you guys and hanging out with you guys for, 2.5, 3 hours? 3 hours. So blessings to you all, and we'll do it again next week, which we'll be in August. Let's see, August the 4th. will be the next live broadcast, which will be on Sunday, August the 4th at 10 p.m., starting at 10 p.m. Central Time, Central U.S. Time. So we'll see you guys. Have a good one, and make sure you stay in touch. You can do that through the Substack. You can do that through Band, and follow along with whatever I'm doing on Facebook and Twitter and some of those other places as well, the places that haven't banned me. So blessings to you guys. Love you all. Talk to you again very soon.